Thank you. Can you hear me? My request is for MP Butler. You mentioned that we have some of the best scientists in the world, and that is correct. They're called independent scientists. Now, Professor Will Staffen and Professor Leslie Hughes were at the last Canberra Community Forum, and in response to a question from the audience, they agreed that they would go to jail if it turned out they had knowingly misled and deceived the politicians, such as you, and all the Australian people. So my request to you is, if you get in power, will you use your political power to hold them accountable? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure I really follow that. I can't. My knowledge of criminal law is pretty vague, but I'm not sure that even that is a criminal offence. Even if you take it worst, that those two scientists, whose materials I know well, are wrong, that there would be any repercussions of that. But I must say that those two professors, I've not seen any advice from those two professors that is not broadly in line with their entire discipline.
My name is Dr.
It's up to you, Mark.
Yeah.
I'll come up with the microphone. Thanks.
No, we'll take it away then if he's close to water.
I was going to ask you a question on the assumption that by now you would be aware that there has been no warming for close on 18 years. You are aware of that?
Finish your question.
Okay, right. Okay,
finish your question.
Since you mentioned that 2014 was the hottest year on record, and since you mentioned that 97% of scientists, I think my question is rather pointless, and so I'll have a quick backup. Why do you use the word carbon when you mean carbon dioxide? Why do you talk about climate change when you mean warming? What are we going to call cooling? Is that what a climate change as well? I mean, and why do you refer to pollution? Carbon dioxide is the building block of plant life. It sits, it's a fundamental stone of the food chain. It's just, this corruption of language just makes it very difficult and senseless for educated people to discuss this topic.
Yeah. Well, look, I would say if I'd been given the responsibility for sort of framing the language used in this debate, I probably would stick with global warming, not climate change. I think that is essentially what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the warming of the planet, but anyway, I wasn't asked to come up with this language, and I don't feel that I have the capacity to make a change to what is a pretty deep global dialogue. Look, frankly, the reason I talk about carbon pollution rather than carbon dioxide pollution is it's shorter. And some people make that sort of complaint, but I think generally people understand that we're not talking about carbon monoxide, we're not talking about other forms of carbon, we're talking about carbon dioxide. Look, I do want to take issue with this sort of 18 years question because it is a really important one. And it's an argument made using 1998 as the base year, which was a particularly unusual El Nino year. If you actually look across the trend, there is no question that there is a warming trend. 14 of the 15 hottest years are all since 1998. I talked about the monthly global average. Now, you and I simply aren't going to be able to agree on this, but I just think scientist after scientist has deconstructed that argument. Now, I know people like Morris Newman think that they know better than those scientists, but I just think the more we end up staying bogged down in this argument, the longer it will take for us to get a proper policy position.